Hello, I am coming to this video today because I wanted to share a little bit of my felt experience of the Venus retrograde this time around. I've been really consciously moving through this retrograde, and it just occurred to me today that we're nearing the end. She's at her stationary degree. She's going to be turning direct very soon. And I was reflecting on like, wow, so much has actually changed. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about like kind of a before and after of what Venus through Capricorn in retrograde, how that actually impacted me, and some tangible things that I can actually measure, which is amazing because Capricorn's all about being able to measure the value of something or measure why something is worth something. So yeah, first of all, before I even talk about that, I want to talk about how I experienced the Venus retrograde in 2020. So Venus retrograded through Gemini in 2020 between May 13th and June 23rd. And I had a very different experience during her retrograde that time. In fact, it was like I was not consciously moving through that retrograde. I wasn't really giving it a lot of stock. There was a lot of stuff going on in the world that I was sort of like in denial about or tuned out of or just coping with on my own. And during that retrograde, because it was in Gemini, I actually was able to uncover an addiction that I had. I had a electronics addiction during that time. And yeah, around the 2nd of June, right in the middle of that retrograde, I had a total breakdown. Everything broke down. I didn't get sick, but I had the experience of realizing that I was running away from a lot of feelings, and the feelings I was running away from, it was the sensation of loneliness. It was the sensation of being alone. And I was addicted to social media platforms and YouTube videos. And I was running my phone out of batteries by 10 a.m. because I was up at 3 and 4 in the morning, just consuming content, not even consuming it, just numbing out with it. And I had a moment in the shower during that day on June 2nd. I had to charge my phone so I couldn't listen to some sort of content in the shower. And while I was in the shower, the voice kind of was able to break through and ask me, Christina, what are you avoiding? Like, what are you running away from? What are you distracting yourself from? Because you're having a hard time even taking a shower without some sort of stimulation. And I was angry, so angry, like, no. Like, I don't want to hear, no, I'm not addicted. Don't, like, shut up, like, whatever, I was like very much like, bleh. And so I got out of the shower as fast as I could. And I heard kind of my inner dialogue, which is very like benevolent most of the time, actually. It was like, well, if you're not addicted, what if you went downstairs and left your phone upstairs and you just sat on the couch for 15 minutes and didn't just sat there? What if you just sat for 15 minutes quietly? And I was like, fine, whatever, like I can do that, whatever, shut up. So I left my phone upstairs. I went downstairs, I sat on the couch, and lo and behold, I couldn't do it. I was like shaking and sweating, and like, I know this sounds like, please bear with me. Like, this is kind of important because I use this information to help me through this retrograde, right? So I ran upstairs, I got my phone. The electrical outlet for my phone it wouldn't let me like sit on the couch and have the phone nearby. So I went and got an extension cord and I plugged my phone in with the extension cord. And then I was able to have it like sit right on the couch next to me. I was like, fine, I'll sit for 15 minutes. I'm going to set an alarm, get my phone. I set the alarm, I check a couple things, set the alarm. Okay, 15 minutes. It's going to sit right there for 15 minutes. And not 30 seconds goes by and the voice is like, honey, you have a problem. Like, this is a problem. And I just broke down crying. And the feeling that I didn't want to feel was the feeling of loneliness. And when I challenged myself, when I was able to see myself through that retrograde, I saw, also I have Gemini in my house of relationships. So this retrograde was going through my house of relationships. So, there was this desire or this need for a relationship, and I was very isolated. I was I was single during the quarantines and stuff. So I spent a lot of time alone. And so anyways, I just cried and cried and cried. And I prayed. Like I'm not a part of any organized religions, but I have a very strong, like, spiritual self. And I had gone away from that for a long time. And this was the opportunity. I just broke open and I prayed, and I just acknowledged like how sad I was and how lonely I was and how much longing I had. I was like watching a lot of Outlander at the time, and I was just feeling like, gosh, I'm just so alone. I don't have anyone, like anyone like that. And so anyways, I cried and cried and cried, and I opened up, and I felt this like incredible benevolent force, this presence, like, come into my awareness at the very, very bottom of my grief, at the most surrendered, like, oh my gosh, I have a problem and I feel so lonely. And at the very, very bottom of it, this incredible, incredible love came into my presence. And I felt like I was laying on the lap of the most loving person that could have ever existed. And this being, this person, this presence, this awareness, like I could communicate with it. And the communication was like, oh, like, I love you so much. Like, you're okay. Like, this is okay. All of this is okay. You can cry as much as you want. I love you no matter what. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? What is this? Like, what's happening right now? And my mind wanted to engage. Like, that's Gemini, right? My mind wanted to like analyze what was happening and like put labels to it and like organize it in some sort of information, because yeah, I felt the sensation. And even then I heard this laughter, and the laughter was like, it's okay. Even now, as you're trying to analyze this experience, I love you. I love you so much. You have such a brilliant mind. Like, and can you just allow yourself to receive this love right now? Broke me open even more. Yes. Like, and then I'm crying and crying and crying, and just feeling like I can't even express to you the way that this love felt. It was like beyond the love you crave from your parents, beyond the love you'd crave from a lover. It was beyond any kind. It was so unconditional. It was beyond anything I've ever experienced before. And it just broke me open. Like the heart, the open-heartedness that I felt. I promise this is all relevant. So I continued like receiving that love, and I would feel my mind engage, and I would, wrestle with the receiving of that love, and wrestle with like, I got to write this down. I got to tell somebody about this, and it was like laughing. There's this joyful, like, light laughter that was like, you are free to do that no matter what. I love you. And would you do that so that you could get more of what I'm already giving you? I'm giving it to you without you having to be smart or witty or be able to communicate. Like, I'm just giving this to you right now. And it was like, oh, like, so anyways, this went on and on and on. There was so much, like, it reorganized my entire story around love and the love we share with others, the connection, the things, I don't know, it just reorganized my entire experience of loneliness. I have not felt that hole in my heart ever again, ever since I had that experience. Like, I went through some hard things in 2020. I went through some hard things in 2021. I mean, life has continued to be challenging, but the sensation that has not been present again was a sensation of a hole in my heart and a need to fill it with something, a person, or like this like sensation of lack went away, and it was filled. Like, I carry this presence of this love with me now. And so as I approached, and I knew, like, I was like, wow, this was Venus in retrograde in Gemini, which has to do with our stories, which has to do, I mean, there was the contrast, right? I was using my connection with social media. I was using that lifeline to try and secure certain levels of love. And then while the retrograde was happening, that untangled, it got untethered, it got torn apart. Like the necessity of that, it ripped, it kind of was released from my fingers so that I could open to a degree of love that I could never have achieved through that kind of way of electronic connection, right? So, or it doesn't even, Gemini existed far before electronics. It's like through the mental constructs, or the mental roles, like the abstraction. Gemini, we label things in Gemini. We have an experience of something and then we create a label for it. We call it something. Like it's a very, very important moment and step in human development, because if we did not have the capacity to use our mind to, kind of create a label for something, like that's how we function. We see something, we understand its usage, we understand why it's important or what it's about, and then we call it something. That way we can communicate with other people about what the thing is. Like I can say to you, please pass me a pen. You know that thing that does the thing when you put it on paper, that's called a pen. And because it's called a pen and I'm asking you for it, there must be something I want to do with that pen. And so that's Gemini. It's the realm of ideas, the realm of calling things something so that we can communicate with each other and bounce ideas off of each other, and even have opinions of things we prefer and don't prefer, because we're able to label things as tasteful or distasteful to us. So anyways, while Venus retrograded through there, I was able to deeply work through some of those programs and some of that labeling and some of that like abstraction I'd created around the sensation of love. Venus is the human experience of love. It's the embodied, like somatic experience of receiving love. And so here we are, Venus retrograde in Gemini. That's exactly what I experienced. So as we were approaching Venus's retrograde in Capricorn, I was reflecting on that, like, ooh, man, some things happen when Venus retrogrades. Like this isn't something to be taken lightly. This isn't something to snooze on, even though I was trying to snooze on it last time, right? I was like way into the distraction. And I was like, yeah, I wonder if I could do this more consciously, rather than like, what if I keep my eyes wide open? Like, what if I listen to all of my intuition? What if I don't ignore the voice in the shower, or, so to speak? What if I create space for that type of communication to occur? Luckily, also, Jupiter's in Pisces now, and I have Jupiter in Pisces in my third house, which is the house of how my mind works. And so I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm going to like open up to the psychic realm. I'm going to like, I'm going to just completely surrender to that guidance. I'm going to act on that guidance immediately. I'm just going to trust it all. Right. So very proactive stance this time. And to be fair, Capricorn straddles my first and second houses. So the first part of Capricorn is very much about how I identify myself, my character, self-worth, how I measure who I am through the legacy that I leave, right? And then it straddles into my second house. So the tangible evidence that I am meeting my needs in a very practical way or in a sustainable way, proof that I have achieved some level of security in life, right? So these are the types of themes I'm kind of looking for as the Venus retrograde begins. And she began her retrograde on the 19th and she'll finish on the 29th of January. So we're not quite at the end yet, but we're close, and she's at her stationary degree. So I made a little list as I was reflecting on some of the things I've noticed have changed. Some of them are when we have experiences in our first house, there could be things that are like very much about our character, like our appearance, like our avatar, right? Like the character that we play in this lifetime. And so right off the bat, things started changing about my appearance and the way I adorn myself, and just how I even relate to my character and my body. For instance, my daughter was struggling with her long hair. We were having a really hard time. She has a certain type of hair that gets tangled really easily, and she's a very, very sensitive head. And we were really like struggling with getting those tangles out in a way that wasn't traumatic every time, right? And I reflected, I was like, oh my gosh, I do that too. I had really long hair and I loved having my long hair. I loved the aesthetic of long hair, but I was spending so much time and it was painful. And it was like, I would get viscerally irritated at having to maintain my hair. And it almost was acting, it was like feeling almost like a security blanket also, because I was like, I don't know, I was looking at pictures. I had kind of had the same sort of side swept like hairstyle, the same sort of like, this is like, my face is a little asymmetrical, and I would position my hair so that I would kind of distract the aesthetic of my face with this like asymmetrical hair thing. It was all, I'll be honest, I wasn't like very, very conscious of it until now, but as I reflect, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was putting so much effort into making sure that my character looked a certain way, and I was putting up with a lot of bullshit, like a lot of discomfort in order to maintain that visual aesthetic, right? So I connected with like my daughter's story and like how my story of myself was like inadvertently being translated to her. And I just asked her, honey, would you like it? Would you like to have shorter hair so that this isn't so painful? That way your hair will feel more healthy. It'll be easier to wash. It'll be so much easier to brush. And then you could just be free to be a little girl without having to do this. She was crying and she looked up at me. She's like, yes. And so I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So I immediately made a hair appointment for her and I, and the first appointment available was on the day of the Venus retrograde. And I'll be honest, I was actually like, oh shit, I would recommend nobody gets a haircut on the first day of a Venus retrograde. Like it could turn out terrible. It could be a reversal of beauty. It could be like, ugh, but I reminded myself, no, this is about getting in touch with the true value of life, with the true value of who we are. And that value has nothing to do with our aesthetics. Like that value has to do with like our body's experience of reality. And if our body's experience of reality is being compromised because our ego thinks that things need to look a certain way, then we have a substandard, I have a substandard like approach to the value of who I am and my lived experience, right? So kept the appointment. We went, she loved her haircut. I cut mine too. I was like, you know what? My hair's too long. Please cut it off. Like I can't do this anymore. And my hairstylist is like, great. Like he was great. And I'll be honest, like he took 8 full inches off. Like it was like a huge chop. And while it was happening, I was like, this is okay. This is good. And he's like, yeah, this needed to happen. This was old hair. And I was like, it was old hair. It was old, like old experiences, old stuff. Like that hair had been on my body for a long time. It was like a memory of so much. And so there was that initial shedding. And oh my gosh, like at first I was like, what am I going to do with this hair? Like it was weird. And it was like, and now I've come, as the retrograde is almost completed, I've come into this like really peaceful place with this. It's the easiest hair I've ever had. It's like so easy. And it's the part is even more to the center. And like, what's interesting is I'm seeing my face is still asymmetrical, but for some reason I have like such a greater acceptance of my face. Like, I don't know, somehow the overcompensation of that angle was like making the asymmetricalness like even more pronounced because I was like trying to compensate. And anyways, so I know that sounds like kind of like a shallow thing, but the first house is kind of, it's not shallow. It's just, it's about the aesthetic of the character. And my character went through like a massive physical change just with a simple haircut on the beginning of the retrograde. So that was the first thing. The next thing, I turned 42 in September of 2021, and I had a really rough summer. Like I got really physically depleted, and I felt like I aged a lot. Like that it was weird. Like I felt the youngest I'd ever felt in the beginning of the year, and then I felt the oldest I'd ever felt by my birthday, and only a span of like 9 months had gone by. Like really, like at my youngest point, I felt the youngest I ever felt in March. I was like, I had done this like detox. I was rebounding all the time. Like I felt like my skin was glowing. Like I just felt so vibrant. And then I went through a different phase, and I let go of all those practices. And I experienced a lot of stress. I'll talk about that a whole nother time. That was like a different thing. That's a whole nother subject. That was the medicine ceremony of 2021, which I talked a lot about in my, I've talked a lot about that, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Anyways, opened my 42nd year feeling old, like feeling dried out and used up and depleted and spent. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I need to take care of this vessel. This vessel is so valuable. And I am the same age that when I gave birth to my daughter, I was the same age that my grandmother was when I was born. And so when my daughter is 42, I'm going to be the same age that my grandmother is now. Okay. So I am like, whoa, like I can see, I don't want to be feeling like a grandmother to I might be a grandmother at that time, literally, but like, I want to feel very vibrant. I want to feel very like alive, very, very capable as a grandmother and as a older woman. Like I want to initiate things now that are going to sustain me for the long haul. And maybe a lot of people around 42 start thinking about things like that, where it's like, okay, I've hit my like basic female milestones, and they were what they were, right? And now I'm thinking about like the latter half of my life, and I want to do things now that will sustain that far, far, far into my future. It's not about vanity, it's about energy for me. So anyways, but around my birthday time, I was like, well then, so anyway, I bought a bunch of very expensive skincare products. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to validate this thing, but like for the first time, I bought some really expensive skincare products, and I used them diligently all through the fall. In fact, I started running out right at the Venus retrograde, and I was like, they kind of worked, but not really. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't exercise at all during that time. I didn't change my diet. I just wanted to put some stuff on my skin, and I wanted it to work. And I was like, please just let it work. Like, I'm tired. I'm depleted. I'm spent, but they kind of worked. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't a valuable investment, but what I understood as Venus was beginning her retrograde was that like true sustainable health shouldn't cost, that it's not like a product that I buy. It's behaviors that I do every single day that I will do forevermore, because I know that that's how to maintain and value the vessel that I have, this beautiful, valuable vessel that I have. So interestingly enough, I didn't start any practices right away. In fact, I had an experience like a couple days after Christmas, which was, we had, I think Venus crossed Pluto right at that moment on Christmas. So Venus was crossing over Pluto, and there was like this weird death moment, and I needed that death initiation. It was very strange. I remember I talked to a friend, I like left a voice message. On that Sunday, I had an experience where I was looking in the mirror and I didn't even recognize myself. I was just like, I don't even like identify with this face. Like, I don't even know who I am. Like, oh my gosh, like, what is happening? And it was giddy and light. It was exciting, actually. I was like, I have a body. Like, and I got this incredible download, like, oh, this body is it's a result of all of the ways, all of the conditions that I've put it through up to this point. I grew this body based on my every single day practices. So I've conditioned my body to be exactly what it is. Like, I've had control over it this entire time. And this is how my body is showing up based on the conditions I've given it. And unlike, so I got the metaphor was, I drive a truck. Okay. I have, it's my favorite car in the whole wide world. I had it on a vision board a couple years ago. It manifested in 2020. Like, I love my truck so much, but it will never be a Tesla. Like, I can't turn my truck into an electric car. Okay. I'm not saying that that's the best thing to do anyway. Like, there's a whole kinds of pros and cons about electric vehicles, but my point is, my vehicle, my truck, as much as I love it, it cannot change. I cannot, it's always going to receive gas. It's always going to have a certain like level of gas mileage. I can optimize it to a certain degree, but it is a fixed inorganic being that I love and will never change, right? It'll only get older, and eventually, after many, many years, I plan to have this truck for a long time, but after many, many years, it will retire and it won't have ever changed. So the awareness was, this vehicle is an organic vehicle. It's similar to my truck, and I love it very much, except that I can actually change the fuel that it functions on. I can change its operating system. I can change through daily conditioning what this vehicle is conditioned to do. If this vehicle wants to be like a really good skier, I can condition it to be a very good skier. If this vehicle wants to run really, really well on vegan food, I can condition this body to run really, really well on vegan food, like all solely vegetables and like raw food. Totally able to do that. There would be a changeover in the flora and fauna, right? There would be a shift. I have certain microbiome conditions that are attuned to whatever conditions I've been giving it, but this is an adaptable organic form, and I can condition it to do anything because it's living. It's a living cellular thing. And at the microscopic level, changes happen with my thoughts, with my feelings and emotions, with all of my behaviors, with whatever I put into it, whatever I ask it to do, that will create a new vehicle altogether. So this was exciting. And I came into that awareness like right after Venus crossed Pluto. And I was like, oh, cool. So what do I want to condition it to do? It was like, I don't know. Let me think about this. Like, I can condition it to be anything. So let me just figure out what I want it to. I had some broad strokes, right? So that was, so about halfway through her retrograde, I changed. I figured I got an intuitive hit. Basically, I knew a lot of people around me were getting sick, and I was like, oh, that's right. Sickness is a result of certain conditions. Like conditions, that's a response. It's a response of the vehicle that it's come to a massive, like a catastrophic load, or it's come to like a certain threshold point where it needs to stop normal operations and do a big clearing. And I'm like, okay, so a lot of people are getting sick. How am I conditioning my body? Do I need to take a time out and have that? Do I need to have an illness to create the conditions where I clear everything out? And as I was considering that, I was like, wow, there could be other ways to do it. Like there could be a lot of other ways to do it. Because I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. I had a whole bunch of 2022 readings I needed to record. And I was like recording 4 of them a day for days on end. Right. So that was like, I was conditioning my body to run a lot of energy. And I was also neglecting certain really important things about the function of my body because I was just like in the space of like channeling like crazy. So I took a pause and I was like, okay, well, what would I need to do if I was going to be very proactive about creating an upgrade and conditioning my system to run very efficiently and healthy? What would I do? And there was a couple of different options, and the most loud, the one that was like, do this, it's going to be great, you should do this. I was like obsessively researching rowing machines. I'd started researching them in December, but I don't know, I was like, I've never rowed before. Like, why in the world would I be interested in rowing machines? This doesn't make any sense. Plus, I despise sweating. I despise sweating. Like I don't, my previous character despised sweating. My previous character, this is all before Venus's retrograde. My pre-Venus retrograde character, she didn't like doing anything like that. Like exercise was not her favorite thing at all. And she would do it like in order to get over certain thresholds, she would do it. I found like a really cool, like I was rebounding. So it was like on the threshold of sweating. Like I didn't have to sweat, but I was still pumping my body and like clearing my lymphatic system and like getting my heart rate up. But I stayed below the threshold of sweating, right? Because I don't know, it's weird. It has to do with Chiron and Taurus. Like I'll go in, like, I don't need to dissect this right now, but anyways, so very confused about this desire for a rowing machine. And coincidentally, I received like just the right amount of gift cards and just the right amount of to go buy a used rowing machine. And I got that. Like at first I was like going to order one online. I was like, no, I can start today. Like no delay. I don't need to wait and get this shipped and then have to put it together. I bet you I can find one today. I'm going to go to Play It Again. I didn't even say, someone else, I was talking about it and they're like, try Play It Again Sports, is my brother. And I was like, oh yeah, I should try that. So went, exactly the right amount of money, exactly the right machine. It was like perfect. I've been rowing every single day since. And that was a couple of weekends ago. What was the date? Hold on. Like it was like the 9th. So I got the rowing machine on the 9th. And so it's been like 2.5 weeks and I've rowed every single day since I got that machine. And I was like, oh, this is part of that conditioning. And what I haven't lost any weight, right? Like, I think I'm changing my body composition. I think like, I don't know, the scale's gone up because maybe I'm building muscle. I'm not really sure. This isn't for aesthetic purposes. Okay. Like I'll admit, like, if I get in shape or more toned, that'll be great. But what I have understood now is that this pumping motion of rowing is conditioning my body to heat up, to sweat or to detox, and to breathe rhythmically for 30 full minutes with this pumping and the breathing and all the things. Like it's clearing my mind and it's giving me like really, really clear psychic intuition, like so clear. My psychic intuition has been like razor sharp clear ever since I started rowing. And the space I've opened up during rowing has been like, it's very rewarding because any kind of brain fog I had, it like burns off within like the first 10 minutes. Any kind of brain fog, any kind of like tiredness, I mean, any kind of heaviness, it just burns right off because I don't know, it hits something, right? I guess endorphins, I'm sure some like exercise psychology could explain what's going on, but it doesn't matter to me because I'm increasing my temperature. Any type of pathogens, viruses, bacteria, any type of anything that was like trying to kind of take hold within a 24-hour period, it burns immediately. Like, cause I kind of raise my body temperature and then I pump it out and I like pee and sweat and poop and bolt. Like my body does exactly what my body is supposed to do. It just clears out whatever it doesn't need. And so that's been incredible. And I don't use the very expensive skincare products anymore. That's what this whole thing was about. I actually feel like the tone and color of my skin has like improved so much. Like the way I'm holding my body, like everything, I just feel like I feel younger. Like I've only done this for 2.5 weeks and I'm already feeling so clear and so articulate and so much younger. And so like my eyes feel like they're in the game, like I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I'm just, yeah, like amazing benefit. So then the next thing that's happened, I've always worn silver jewelry. There was a period of time in 2021 when Jupiter was in Pisces, just like where I was wearing a little bit of gold, but as soon as Jupiter retrograded, I put my silver back on. Like I was like back to silver. I've only worn silver jewelry like for my whole life. And in December, all of a sudden, like I found this jewelry company that's based in Paris and it's sustainable and they're reproductions of like ancient archaeological finds. Like, so I have gold jewelry. I like literally have gold earrings that I wear every day, 2 gold necklaces and a gold ring. Like, and it was like, I don't know, I can't, like, this is like one of those kind of like surface level things, but the silver jewelry I used to wear, it was a Q link. So I always wore this silver disc. On the other side of that, if you would have flipped it over, it was a Q link and it had a copper coil in it. And the Q link was designed to kind of create a field around the organic body that would protect it from electromagnetic fields or something like that. Like I'd been wearing it for like since the beginning of 2019. I was wearing it every single day. I took it off like twice and I felt like vertigo and sickness and headache. So I put it right back on because I felt like I really needed it. And in December, it was like, right, I got there's a picture that I'm posting, a before and after picture, and I got that jewelry that day. I put the jewelry on the first day of Venus's retrograde, the gold jewelry, and I took the silver jewelry off. Like there was this like shift from silver to gold, and I guess it's kind of symbolic. I don't know that much about gold, but I know it's like a yin and yang thing. Like silver has to do more with yin energies and the moon, and gold has more to do with yang energies and the sun. And so it's more solar, and something about it just resonates with me. Gold has never resonated with me. Even when I was married back in the day, my husband wanted to buy me gold jewelry and I was like, I can't stand gold. Please, if you're going to do gold, please do white gold or platinum. I know it sounds like snobby, right? But like, I was like, can we just do silver everything? I just didn't resonate with gold. So that has shifted in like a really, really big way. I even have gold fingernails right now, like the energy of gold. And I know gold is a precious metal and it's a conductor, and it's a very soft metal, and it doesn't, there's other qualities of gold. I haven't even looked it up, but that was just another like really interesting, like before and after observation. I just feel wild. I feel incredibly, and the company I chose, it's sustainable. It's, there's a whole bunch. It's called Agape. I just did all this research and I felt really good about it. Like, I don't know. I know there's probably ethical things about gold, but I just felt good about it for some reason so anyways, the next thing I have noticed is I went before, like all of last year, pretty much since Venus is retrograde in Gemini in 2020, I was very actively writing my book until Venus is retrograde in Gemini. And then I was like, I'm not ready to publish this. And I've thought about it, but I hadn't picked it up again. I was like distancing myself from that whole project. And what has happened during Venus's retrograde is that this time in Capricorn, I'm like, oh, I am going to finish this book and I'm going to finish it this year. And I'm really excited about it, even though I'm terrified. And even though there's like structural changes I want to make to my current manuscript, I am ready to step back into that creative process. And so I've actually recommitted. I'm like doing this writers group, and I've got, I don't know, I have new ideas for what this book's actually about. And I feel excited about it. So that is a big shift. Like I'm back on, I'm back on, I'm back on it, and I'm going to do it. And I feel good about it. I feel confident about it. And then finally, like the last thing is, there's like a thing the work that I was doing in the world, I was really feeling it because I was recording all these readings. I was just like, oh my gosh, like there's got to be another way. And I've been knowing that there's another way for me to deliver my services. And anyways, I came up with a new way, and I'm not going to go into it in this video right now, but that was like a big shift where there was still this like time for money aspect where like I was only able to reach as many people as I could physically have the capacity to reach. And my whole conversation about that has shifted, and I found a way to make it even more affordable for people and more impactful, and that like it's actually more sustainable for me as well in the long run. So that was like a big shift. And I think that's more like latter part Capricorn stuff. And I think that part of that will come into more greater clarity when Venus moves direct with Mars through my second house. Because right now there's still a lot of reconstruction happening in my first house of character. So I've just changed the character. I've changed the parts of my character that was identified with a certain value or a certain worth when it came to my work in the world. So that's also shifting. And I think that I'll see more tangible evidence of that once both Venus and Mars move into the latter degrees of Capricorn before they head into Aquarius, which the latter degrees of Capricorn and Aquarius are what makes up most of my second house of like self-worth and value and resources and how I get my like needs, my tangible needs met in this world. So that was another shift. There's more. Okay. Like I could go into so much more like about my kids, and I could go into so much more about like my character's view on relationships. Like that's definitely been a theme, but I can tell that the greater, grander clarity on those things is still in the works. So mostly this was mostly just about my character and my personal life, but I felt like it was valuable to share. I've never really done a video where I just talk about myself the entire time. And I don't know, I feel okay about it. I mean, I think that's maybe a new part of my character was like, well, I can talk about the collective. I can talk about the big energies. I can talk about the astrology. And what if I could also talk about how I experience it personally? And maybe that'll be cool and maybe it won't, but I don't feel nervous about it. Like I don't feel reserved about it. The clarity that I have is super powerful. And I think like the biggest takeaway I've had is that with the awareness of understanding that Venus retrogrades are going to be a period of time where whether you do it actively or not, you're going to go through the ringer. Like whether you could proactively choose to do it consciously and like use discipline and do it, or life will just do it for you. And neither way is wrong. It's just, you could try either one. You could try it out and see how it will go. And this is the Venus retrograde where I tried doing it ultra consciously. Like I was like, I'm going to stop rebelling against myself. I'm going to stop like going against my better judgment. I'm going to actually act on all of my intuition. And I'm just going to see what happens. And oh my gosh, it's been amazing. Like, I don't ever want to go back. Like, I don't ever want to rebel against myself again. I just want to trust, like I value my wisdom. Like I would just want to be on my own team. I just want to trust myself and just do what I feel I should do. What would happen if I just did that, right? And now I know, and I'm so happy about it. And so I hope that you also have had an incredible Venus retrograde, regardless of whether you did it the hard way or the easy way or the conscious way or the like more resistance way. It doesn't matter. I see the thing happens regardless of whether we resist it or not. Like, it's just like I had this metaphor a long time ago. Like we can actually we can actually operate in the world with grace and ease. It doesn't mean that we won't come onto boss levels, and doesn't mean that we don't have to like jump over obstacles or like experience things that are a little bit challenging. It's just, I think what it means, it's kind of like, I was raised on like Super Mario Brothers. Like I played a lot of Super Mario Brothers, not a lot. It was, my friends had this system, what is it, Game Boy, or I don't remember the system, Nintendo. My friends had them. I never had them, but I would play at my friend's house. And what was interesting about those video games is that the frame would constantly be moving, and you could like hang out at the very back of the frame and it would push you, or you could try to go to the very front of the frame, and you can't go any faster than the frame moves. The frame is just moving in a consistent way, right? And there's a whole bunch of things in the middle of the frame. And sometimes you have to hang back and then run and jump, and then you can catch the upper like cloud coin stuff. Or you could just stay like play on the bottom and just kind of get your basic stuff, and you're doing all right. Like you get through the level, right? So I kind of feel like life is kind of similar to that. It's got this frame that's always moving, and we can play the game however we want. We can be like super bouncy and like jump into these like higher gift moments, these more fulfilling kind of higher gift moments, or we can stay sort of down at the bottom and kind of play in the middle of the frame, or we can stay at the very front and like, you know, sometimes we don't see what's coming, and we just like, our anxiety to go faster kind of doesn't give us the opportunity to see things coming and respond to them from like a clear state. Or we can hang out at the back and like watch the impending consequence coming closer and closer and closer until we decide to like jump or get bitten or whatever, you know. So I'm witnessing a new way of playing my game that is a little more proactive, and it's not at the front of the frame, and it's not the back of the frame, and it's very much like taking those active risks or taking those active jumps. And I'm finding a lot of grace and ease in that. And I just want to share that like there's a middle way. And I've tried lots of ways. I've tried all the ways, consciously tried them and journaled about it. And like, yeah. So yeah. I am going to say at the end of this video, I have started a membership. I write about astrology every single day. That's part of my like dedication. I am tuning into the astrology every single day. I write about it every single day. And I also will, I've got a space where I do voice memos, and I am offering this as a membership. It's an astrology membership. And I have a handful of members already. If this is interesting to you, there's a link down below. I feel like it's the most graceful and easeful way for me to operate in life, because I'm just tuning into like, what should I be aware of today? What am I putting my focus and attention on today? Like how, like, I mean, it's fine. This is just my way of rolling. Like if it's not your way of rolling and you just like to respond to things emotionally, like perfectly valid. It could be that I'm still very, very, very emotional, but I've got this like extra level of awareness of like how to hold the souls that I'm in life with. Like, what could they be experiencing right now too? Like there's this higher level of patience and compassion and presence because I'm tuned in to what's happening astrologically. And it kind of takes me out of like, I don't know, like having like triggered responses that take me out of the presence, or like, you know, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but to me it serves, and to the people who tune in every single day, I think it serves them as well. And if you would like to tune into that, the membership includes my PDF of the year ahead. That's like a $30 value that right off the bat, you just get that automatically. And there's also a discount code for all of my services when you become a member. So and then you get the daily astrology. I've got the voice transmissions for how the astrology actually is feeling. And those are very interesting. So at least they are to me. I don't know, like I think they're interesting, but anyways, this concludes my synopsis of the before and after of Venus retrograde. I hope you enjoyed this. leave me a comment below about your Venus retrograde. I would love to hear how your experience has gone. I'd love to hear, like, if you know where Capricorn is in your chart and what part of your life this is traversed. I would love to hear how that correlates. Like, I'm eternally curious about other people's experiences with things, and it helps me to kind of expand my field of metaphor when I'm talking with others. So I would love to hear your experiences. Please share. And thank you so much for being a part of my community. If you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, please subscribe, please share, please give me a thumbs up, please do all the things. I am dedicated to spreading the word and impacting even more people this year. So please share. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.